After 8 consecutive playoff appearances, last season the Portland Trailblazers only won 27 games and lost 55. They ended up picking 7th in the draft, but made it clear their direction wasn't going to a straight rebuild, but realized they had to retool, making moves such as trading CJ McCollum to New Orleans. And now we're here in this offseason, and they've made some moves early and still have some moves to be made that will really suggest the true direction of this team as they look to still try to build around Damian Lillard. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the moves they made so far this offseason and what is next for this franchise that a lot of people thought should have blown it up already, but have kept Damian Lillard, have kept Jusuf Nurkic, and have a newfound piece possibly in Anthony Simons, and are looking to build forward with those guys and still compete for a championship with Damian Lillard, which they really haven't gotten too close to that so far in Lillard's tenure with the Blazers. But they're giving it another shot, and today we're going to be talking about the roster built around Damian Lillard, who missed much of last season with an injury, which was most of the reason why the Blazers had such a poor record, and what to expect from the team next year and what to expect from them going into NBA free agency. Now, the Blazers were pretty much the first team to make a major trade this offseason, acquiring Jerami Grant from the Pistons, a player they had long been linked to and a player who had long been in trade discussions from other teams. It was clear the Pistons were going to trade him, and they acquired the very good 3-and-D wing who has some scoring ability from Detroit for just a 2025 Bucks first round pick, which is very good value, I believe. And Grant in Detroit had a bigger role as a scorer. He was the number one option, and he's obviously not built for that. On a good team, he's probably like a fourth option, and on the Blazers, he'll probably be a third option, I'd say, behind Simons and Dame. We'll see if they acquire somebody else, but definitely he'll be behind those two. And at his best, he's a complementary player, not a focal point, but he can really, really help a championship team. And on the Nuggets in that bubble run, he really increased his value and showed more of his capabilities besides just playing defense and hitting open threes. He started to hit some shots off the dribble, and I think he'll be a good addition for the Blazers. Now, the second major move so far the Portland Trailblazers have made this offseason was in Thursday's draft when they picked Shaedon Sharpe, 7th overall, and I thought that was a very interesting pick because he's definitely viewed as more of a project player 2 or 3 years down the line. He's that high in the draft because of his ceiling, not what he brings right now. And it seems like the Blazers are trying to win right now. I mean, the Jerami Grant move and not trading Dame certainly suggests that. Yet they drafted Sharpe, which I'm not saying is a bad pick because I think Sharpe is a really good prospect. But the long-term vision of this team is certainly something that is very interesting to me. And if we look at the roster right now, there's, I believe, 10 players under contract. And then, guys, you have that are free agents. You have Anthony Simons, who is viewed as a key piece, I think, for the future on this team. He's a restricted free agent. You have Jusuf Nurkic. It will be very interesting to see what they do at the center position. I'd guess he gets re-signed. And then you have some older vet guys like Joe Ingles or Ben McLemore, who are also free agents. Now, Ingles was acquired at the trade deadline this year after his ACL injury, and he didn't play a single game, and I don't expect him to re-sign. McLemore was a solid piece. He's a good three-point shooter and is a solid backup 2 or 3. I could see him being back, could see him not. I don't think it'll make a huge difference, but he's a decent player. But the 4 significant free agents for Portland are Simons, Nurkic, Joe Ingles, and Ben McLemore. I'd expect Simons back unless he's in like a sign and trade. I think they really want to keep him. And I'd expect Nurkic back as well unless they go after maybe a stretch big. A guy like Miles Turner possibly could help them. I was going to say a name like Christian Wood, but obviously he was just traded to Dallas. But if they don't go after someone like Miles Turner or maybe a DeAndre Ayton sign and trade they pursue, I think Yusuf Nurkic will be back. And don't think Ingles will be back. I think McLemore is 50-50. Could go either way, but he's a replaceable player. But as for the look of the roster going into next year, as of right now, what the situation is looking like, I think it'll look something like a starting lineup of Dame, Anthony Simons, Jerami Grant, Josh Hart, and Yusuf Nurkic. And then off the bench, you have Eric Bledsoe as your backup point guard. Simons will probably run with the bench unit some. You have Nas Little, you have Justice Winslow, you have Shaedon Sharpe, you have Trendon Watford, who had a very good rookie season for an undrafted guy. You have Keon Johnson, and you have Greg Brown. And that's a lot of decent defenders, especially on the bench. You know, Bledsoe's good, Little's good, Winslow's good, Watford's good, Keon's good. And defensively, though, now your two best players are really bad on defense, or your two best scorers in Simons and Dame, which is the same problem you had with CJ McCollum. And this team, even with the added talent, is still a piece away. Now, who could that piece be? There's a little Kevin Durant chatter after what Damian Lillard posted to his story, the jersey swap. But it looks like for at least one more year, KD will be staying in Brooklyn. There's some DeAndre Ayton chatter. I don't know how realistic that is, but that would be a really good addition. I still don't know if that makes them a championship contender. There's talks of guys like Miles Bridges, as well as there were some heavy links pre-draft, I know, to Lou Dort, as well as OG Anunoby, trying to acquire some 3-and-D wings with some scoring ability of their own. Those guys have a similar profile to Grant, aren't as good, but are younger and probably have more room for improvement than Jerami Grant does. There's also John Collins could be a good fit next to Nurkic, the way he spaces the floor. I don't know how great that would be defensively, a Nurkic and Collins front court with a Dame and Simons backcourt on defense, but that would certainly give them another offensive option. There's talk of a guy like Miles Turner, who obviously could space the floor. But what do you guys think? Who is a guy that could take them over the top? But really, to me, the Blazers are just one of the most fascinating teams in the league right now. They got a really, really talented player in the draft in Shaedon Sharpe, and they traded for a more win-now guy in Jerami Grant. And the window with Damian Lillard is closing, and they traded CJ McCollum, have Anthony Simons in his spot long term. I'm just really interested going into free agency what their actual plan is and if they have a vision to get this team over the top, because I think this team definitely goes back to the playoffs next year, but they did that 8 straight years, and the best they got was the conference finals one season where they got swept by the Warriors, I believe, even with Myers Leonard playing out of his mind. So I just wanted to make this video to give really an overview of one of the more interesting teams in the league to me. And really just wondering which direction do they go and how do they find a way to make themselves a championship contender with Damian Lillard.